Today we're going to try out 6 different microphones, all at different budgets, to find out the best mic for whatever your filmmaking needs are. The microphones that we're going to be testing today range from beginner level microphones starting at $150 and go all the way up to pro level microphones that are about $1,000. We're going to be testing each microphone individually and comparing them in various filmmaking situations. And at the end of the video, we're going to choose a winner based on performance and price. But before we jump into the video, we're actually giving one of these microphones away for free. And all you have to do to win this microphone is like and subscribe to the channel and comment down below, "Can you hear me now?" And you will be eligible to win this microphone, no strings attached. All right, the first test that I wanted to do was just a baseline test of recording all of these microphones in my studio, which is a very controlled environment and acoustically treated with sound panels. All right, right now we are testing out the Senheiser MK416, and this is what it sounds like in a controlled studio environment. Now we are testing out the Rode NTG3 to see how it sounds in a controlled studio environment. This is the Rode NTG4, testing this out in a controlled studio environment. This is the Comica wireless microphone, and this is what it sounds like in a controlled studio environment. This is the Senheiser VM30, and this is what it sounds like in a controlled studio environment. This is the Video Mic Pro, and this is what it sounds like in a controlled studio environment. Alright, so my favorite mics out of all of these mics had to be between the Rode NTG3 and the Senheiser, and I feel like the Senheiser was a little bit crispier and just made the voice cut through just a little bit more, but I also felt like the NTG3 had a little bit more body to it and a little bit more of a fuller sound, and this is what it sounds like in a controlled studio environment. To see how it sounds in a controlled studio environment, I could see why a lot of people would go with the Senheiser over the Rode, but in my opinion, I would probably take the Rode NTG3 just because I know I could probably EQ that and keep some of that body and that beef in the lower end and kind of manipulate it a little bit more. Out of all the microphones, these are definitely the 2 microphones that outshined all of the other ones. Now, I did notice that the Video Mic Pro was probably the thinnest out of all the microphones, and I also noticed around the 1500 to 3000 hertz you got a little bit of noise in there, so I felt like out of all the microphones that one stood out to me as probably the weakest link in this particular test. The next thing that I wanted to do was find out how each microphone performed on an isolation test out in the field. This is the isolation test for the MK416. You got the city of Miami behind you and my crew talking, and this is how it sounds. All right, right now we are doing an isolation test with the NTG3, and right behind the camera my crew is talking and you have the city of Miami, and this is what it sounds like. This is an isolation test with the NTG4 with the city of Miami behind you and my crew talking behind you, and this is what it sounds like. Right now we are testing out the Comica wireless microphone with the city of Miami behind you, my crew talking in the background. This is the isolation test, and here's how it sounds. All right, right now we are testing out the Senheiser VM30 with the city of Miami behind you, and this is the isolation test, and this is how it sounds. Right now we are testing out the Rode Video Mic Pro with the city of Miami behind you, my crew talking in the background, and this is the isolation test, and this is how it sounds. Okay, so out of the isolation test, my number 1 microphone here was the Senheiser, and then really close behind it, number 2, I would say the NTG4. You got the city of Miami behind you and my crew talking, and this is how it sounds. With the city of Miami behind you and my crew talking behind you, and this is what it sounds like. For some reason, the NTG3 just didn't really do that well. I feel like I heard a lot of the background noise, and on top of it, I heard a lot of wind noise. And right behind the camera, my crew is talking, and you have the city of Miami, and this is what it sounds like. However, another mic that I noticed that was also pretty good was, surprisingly, the Senheiser. It was pretty good at isolating whatever was behind it. With the city of Miami behind you, and this is the isolation test, and this is how it sounds. And even though I don't think the Senheiser is as good as sounding of a microphone as the Senheiser or the NTG4, it did a pretty good job in this isolation test. Next, we tested each microphone in the bathroom, and the reason why I chose the bathroom was because naturally it has a ton of reverb, and we're gonna do a reverb test to find out which microphone performs the best in really echoey sounding rooms. Right now I'm in my bathroom doing a reverb test with the Senheiser MK416, and this is how it sounds. Right now I'm in my bathroom doing a reverb test with the Rode NTG3, and this is how it sounds. Right now we are doing the reverb test with the Rode NTG4, and this is how it sounds. This is the Comica wireless video mic, and we are testing the reverb in my bathroom. This is the reverb test from the Senheiser VM30, and this is what it sounds like. This is the Video Mic Pro, and we are doing the reverb test, and this is what it sounds like. I don't think that any of these mics sounded great, but if I had to choose one, I would probably pick the Senheiser. I thought it isolated the voice probably the best, and then I also thought that the Saramonic did a pretty decent job. But again, I really don't think that any of these mics were great. And that's why whenever you film in a room, you should always think about how to better treat the acoustics in the room by either putting a rug on the floor or maybe even some sound blankets on the walls. If you know that you're gonna be in a really reverberated room, I would definitely take that into consideration, because no matter how good the microphone is or how expensive it is, it's not really gonna be able to save you from capturing all of that reverb and that room tone. The next test we did was a movement test, and I wanted to see which mic handles subjects moving the best. This is the Sennheiser 416, and we're testing out the audio at different places. Right now we're testing out the Rode NTG3 to see how well it captures audio for moving subjects. And this is how it sounds with the Rode NTG4 moving back and forth, in and out. Right now we're recording with the Comica wireless mic for moving objects, and this is how it sounds while your subject is moving in and out of frame. Right now we're testing out the Saramonic VM30 to see how well you can capture the audio in different places. All right, this is the Video Mic Pro, and this is me testing it out at different places. So surprisingly, I thought the best mics in this particular test were the NTG4, the Video Mic Pro, and the Saramonic actually did the best, which are all the cheaper microphones for this particular test. These microphones were just a little bit better at capturing the voice, even though they were moving closer and further away from the microphone. In my mind, it probably has something to do with how direct the more expensive shotgun microphones are. That definitely could be the case. I couldn't give you the science behind that. Maybe somebody could drop something in the comments down below. Let me know, guys, if there is reasoning behind these cheaper mics doing better in this particular test than the more expensive microphones. But it seemed to me like the cheaper ones, no matter where you were, it was capturing kind of the same audio. And this is how it sounds with the Rode NTG4 moving back and forth, in and out. And this is how it sounds while your subject is moving in and out of frame, to see how well you can capture the audio in different places. So if I was to take all of this into consideration, all of these tests, the microphone that would win is definitely the Senheiser. I think that in almost every single category, it was either 1 or 2. And then I think the Rode NTG3 was a great sounding microphone. It didn't perform in a couple of tests as well as I thought it would. I thought the Rode NTG4 wouldn't perform as well as it did, and I was surprised at how close it was to the NTG3. Now, if we're just talking about isolated audio, in my opinion, I like the NTG3, then the Senheiser, then probably the NTG4, then the Comica, then the Saramonic, and then the Video Mic Pro. I thought that the Video Mic Pro just had a thinner sound, and it kind of gave too much energy to that 15 to 3000 hertz, and it kind of gave that shushy sound. So I wasn't loving that particular microphone. I think the best bang for your buck microphone was the Rode NTG3, coming in at $700. And then I think that all in all, the best microphone hands down to me was the Senheiser, but that's coming in at $1,000. So you kind of have to consider, like, how much are you willing to pay for a little bit better of a microphone? If you are willing to pay $1,000 for a microphone, and you know this is gonna be your microphone that's gonna last you a really long time, go with the Senheiser. But if your budget is around like that $400 to $700 range, I would definitely consider going with the NTG3. I think that the sound quality was a little bit better, even though that the NTG4 performed pretty well, and you could save, you know, $100 or $200, you know, just getting the NTG4. But I still think that the NTG3 is the better microphone. And then when it came to the cheaper microphones, I thought the Comica was pretty decent, but I thought that the Saramonic was as good as the Comica, if not better. And then I definitely thought that the Saramonic was better than the Video Mic Pro. Now, I just want to go over a few things that you guys should always pay attention to when you are miking up your subjects or your actors. The first thing that you should do is always pay attention to the acoustics in the room that you're recording in. As you noticed in the bathroom, a really awesome, expensive Sennheiser microphone isn't going to save you. You're still going to pick up that reverb. So make sure that you acoustically treat the room that you're going to be filming in. You know, add some rugs to the floor, add some, you know, sound blankets to the walls. And then the other thing to think about is mic placement. Like, if you're placing your mic in the right spot, you're going to get good, clean audio. But if you place it a little bit too far back or a little too far forward, you're going to miss that sweet spot of where the microphone is. So a good rule of thumb is be about 3 to 6 feet away from the subject's mouth, and you kind of want to be at this angle. So if you point it towards your head or your face, and you point right here. You kind of want to be at this angle right here, like a 45-degree angle away from your mouth, and you'll capture the best audio. And just remember, guys, if you're capturing too much room tone, try moving the mic a little bit closer. But again, you have to account for your actors or your subjects moving towards and away from the camera. So you have to make sure that you don't place it too close, so when they move like this, you get it completely out of range of the microphone. So that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Alex Zarfati. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Deuces.